what can we officially call a legend? Like, seriously, like, what can we call a legend? I mean, you can call the Loch Ness Monster a legend because it's like, out there, people don't know if it really exists or if it's just imagination or, or Bigfoot. You could probably call Bigfoot a legend. You could probably call a Yeti a legend. You could call dragons part of a legend or whatever. But legends aren't necessarily fantasy creatures, but they do fulfill a fantasy in us that ultimately is to, see something completely different, something out there. And I feel like celebrities are kind of like legendary status. And I feel like if there is a specific person that could reach legendary status, it has to be Michael Jackson. And that's why I have to talk about the movie Michael. Now, I will start off by saying that Michael as a film is very interesting because ultimately when you are watching a Michael Jackson movie or an interpretation of Michael Jackson, there's a lot of like question marks that pop up in your head. Like, how did a certain situation happen this way? Or what happened specifically during this point in time in Michael's life? How can we, go into depth in certain areas? And obviously, like, this movie, I'm not going to say it's an incredible movie, but I feel like at the same time, this movie has some problems on its hand. Now, I'm going to talk about the problems first before I talk about the positives. And normally I don't do this. I don't talk about the negatives first, but I feel like I need to put the negatives up front before I can justify what I have to say that is good of this movie. First off, if you are going into this movie thinking that you're going to get a movie that's full of substance and full of depth and like they're really going to go deeply into Michael's life, no. This is not that kind of movie. This is not the type of movie where you're sitting there and it's like, oh my God. Like, so this is how they wrote that song, or this is how they did this, or this is how they tackled this situation. I really wish that they would have gone deeper into the story here. And, every time I think about the story and I think about like what's, happening around Michael Jackson, deep down, it takes me back to seeing, a specific video that was posted on social media where Paris Jackson was saying that she went to Michael's family, who are the ones who signed off on this movie. Mind you, the only reason why this movie was made was because it was officially signed by Michael's family that everything in this film was approved of. Okay? So let's put that into perspective. But Paris Jackson actually sat down and did a video and said, listen, I brought to the family, brought that to my extended family, a couple of issues that I have with the role, with the story and how it's being told and all of that. And unfortunately, deep down, I wasn't okay with a lot of things. She brought that to the family, and the family sort of, based on what we understand, sort of rejected some of her ideas. And after that point, she chose to back off from the filmmaking aspect of this film. So deep down, when I think of that, and I think of how this movie was written, I start to understand that maybe they are trying to lean towards a very feel-good movie, which I will give it credit for. It is a very feel-good movie. This is a movie that, if you know Michael Jackson's music, you are going to enjoy. But substance-wise, it kind of falls short. You can give it a high score on Rotten Tomato, but unfortunately, the truth is that substance-wise, it's not that mind-blowing. So keep that in mind if you haven't watched this movie, but if you have, you understand what I'm saying. Another thing that is both a positive and a negative, but I'm going to speak about it in the negative term first, is the pacing of this movie. Do I think the pacing of this movie is good? Yes. The pacing of this movie is almost impeccable. I mean, this movie is a little over 2 hours long, And I did not feel those 2 hours. Those 2 hours went like this, like a snap. Like I didn't even feel those 2 hours pass by, because this movie has that impeccable pacing that is very fast and wants to tell you all this story here. But I feel like even though it has impeccable pacing and is incredible in the pacing department, I feel like when it came down to the editing of this movie, they cut down a lot of details that I wanted to see of this movie. So sort of also in conjunction with, the writing of this movie, also is in conjunction the pacing of this movie, which I would have liked if they added more scenes, more stories, more, in-depth dialogue. I want to understand Michael's brain. And in this movie, I don't understand Michael's brain. All I'm doing here is I'm just seeing him say, yeah, I want to break out. I want to do, bigger and better things. I want to do my own thing. Yes, we understand that story. We all understand that he broke up from the band to be, who he was. Everybody knows that story. We want to know more about the internals. Like, how does he click in here? And I feel like this would have been the opportunity for him to actually go and actually, the story could have been something much deeper and much more emotional. And I feel like there is no emotion here. So I feel like, yes, the pacing of this movie is fantastic, but it's to the detriment of the story, because we ultimately don't get any more in-depth moments with Michael. And I feel like that could be, kind of skewed in the negative term. And I gotta say, this movie also has another problem as well. And I feel like you only know about this problem if you have done your research and understand what is going on with, this movie and all the legal aspects of this movie. That, obviously they had to cut down the movie because, certain elements that were being portrayed in the movie shouldn't be portrayed here. And, the family got really upset, and, there was a huge legal battle for this movie to actually be, put on, screens and that sort of thing. So it was tough. It was tough to swallow, that whole situation. But due to that fact alone, they had to cut down this movie. And ultimately, this movie abruptly ends. And I feel like it's not that the ambiguity of the movie is a problem, because we know that there's more to the story, and they kind of clearly state, like, yeah, there's more to this story. Cool. But there's still a whole lot more to be, experienced and discovered in this movie. And ultimately, just the fact that it just ends abruptly is already a problem there. And I wish they had a good leeway into the next movie, other than just like, and that's it. So I feel like that's more of an editing and a directorial problem that hopefully they could have fixed, in editing. But unfortunately, that's what we got. So now that I've talked about all the negative things that I could possibly say about this movie, let's talk about the actually positive things. I would say the positives of this movie outweigh the negatives, even though the negatives are very important and need to be talked about and discussed for the next movie, because we know that this is definitely going to have a second film. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, and obviously the giraffe, or the sparkly glove, should I say, in the room, which is obviously who is playing Michael Jackson, and that is none other than his nephew, which is Jaafar Jackson, who, I have to say this right now, I said a bunch of negative things about this movie, but I will say, and please write this down, and I'm going to say this about somebody else as well. First off, this movie will be nominated for an Oscar, and I am guaranteeing you that Jaafar Jackson will be nominated for Best Actor in this role. There is no doubt, I have no doubts that this movie will be nominated for an Oscar, and Jaafar will be nominated as Best Actor. There is no doubt in my mind that he will, because he does Michael Jackson to the T. I am telling you, his portrayal is impeccable. It is perfect. The voice, the movements, the fact that he is dancing like precisely his uncle is like, it's mind-blowing to me. Like there is like a moment, like I heard so many people who were talking about this movie and said, man, there's times where you're watching this movie and you forget that it's Jaafar. And I thought that was BS until I watched the movie, and it's like, oh, yeah, that is Jaafar. Like, that is him, and sometimes he is singing, and he sings just like his uncle. I mean, my goodness. This is probably one of the greatest portrayals of another person. It's one of the greatest biopics portrayals that I've ever seen. Like, it's hard to even put into words. Like I'm even jumbling words, because this is the greatest portrayal of another person in a biopic I've ever seen. Period. And I mean, it just adds more authenticity when it's someone of the family that is here playing that role. So I am just blown away with Jaafar's performance in this movie, and it's probably going to be one of the strongest performances of this year, of 2026. So keep your eye out and mark that on your calendar, that Jaafar will be nominated as a Best Actor in this role, in a leading role. So kudos to him. And the other person that we got to talk about who plays essentially opposite him in this movie is Coleman Domingo as Joe Jackson, who is obviously portraying this sort of like serious, grungy kind of man who thinks that success is everything, and he's deliberately controlling and trying to be manipulative of situations, and he plays it like truly to be almost like this vile human being. And I feel like everybody, I mean, the Jackson family signed off on this, so they're signing off that the portrayal of Joe Jackson is accurate to this. And if that's true, then I feel like I would have expected there to be more Joe Jackson in this movie, to sort of counteract a little bit more with Michael. So I feel like his portrayal of this character is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. They tried their hardest to mold Joe Jackson, like have Joe Jackson's face molded onto Coleman Domingo, and Coleman just does an absolutely amazing job. And mind you, like I said before, there was somebody else who would be nominated for an Oscar. Write this down. Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars. Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars is going to be Coleman Domingo, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I'm almost risking it and saying that he will win Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars for his portrayal, because it is very strong and very well made. I mean, you have to study somebody very hard to get to that point. I mean, it's not like Jaafar, who is like in the family bubble and he kind of knows that. Coleman Domingo is outside that bubble, and he's kind of like understanding aspects of Joe Jackson, and that portrayal is incredible. So definitely Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars is gonna be Coleman Domingo, and dare I say it, he might actually win for that role. I would even go as far as to say that Jaafar might actually win the Oscar, but we still have to see what other movies come this year and what other portrayals will be out there. But those two will definitely be nominated for Oscars. And that goes for every other actor on this film. I mean, obviously you have little people who have been, inserted here and there, who are incredible actors as well. Everybody does an incredible performance in this movie. Everybody. I just wanted to make those two standouts as well. But I mean, you have people like Miles Teller who pop up in this movie. Mike Myers pops up in this movie. I mean, people who we understand as important connections in Michael's life. And I feel like based on that alone, I think that is an important aspect, to have these historical people who play these people who are playing these historical parts of Michael's life. It is incredible, and everybody was very well cast. So I think that is a positive thing that really pushed this movie forward. Now, what is a Michael Jackson movie without his music? Which I feel like that was the focus of this entire movie, the entire time, was his music. And, going from a young age, in the Jackson 5 all the way up to, him, on stage, performing and, being who we know as Michael Jackson, performing on stage with everybody. My hope is that the second film does it justice. Obviously, I expect other songs to pop up in that movie. We expect to see, We Are the World be in the next movie. I expect seeing maybe a little bit more of like maybe in the closet, or get him, towards, obviously they're gonna have to age up Jaafar Jackson. But all these other songs like I think Blood on Dance Floor or even, there are just so many songs that you can't really pin down one. I mean, that's the crazy thing with Michael Jackson. He has so many hits that you have to kind of like deliberately choose what songs you're gonna use in the movie. Like that's insane to have that many hits like back to back to back. And I feel like this film has all the hits that we can think of, all the big hits that we can think of. Now, obviously, I want to see Smooth Criminal, in the next movie. Maybe the music video for Bad, or, see more of Human Nature. Obviously previous, but also, additionally to that. So I feel like the music is probably the core foundation of this movie, because it's hit after hit after hit. And there's no way that you're going to be sitting watching this movie just absolutely still. You have to be an insane person to sit still while Michael Jackson's movie is playing in front of you with his music, and you're just sitting there still. Impossible. Because I was watching this movie and I was bopping my head. I was everything was just it's incredible. Just to experience that on screen is just absolutely mind-blowing. And I also give it huge props, to the cinematography. The cinematography of this film is incredible. Shot almost like in perfect instances. Like there are moments where you're it's almost like they had a camera there during the real deal, during the real moment, and there's a photo, there's everything is so deliberately placed and made to feel like it's there and lived in, and also location scouting. Based on what I heard, the house that they're in the movie is the actual house that Michael grew up in and actually lived in. So all these aspects are key and important to making this movie what it is. I mean, obviously, they're gonna explore bigger parts of Michael's story, buying Neverland, marrying Lisa Marie, the birth of his children. I mean, all these different things are going to be covered in a second movie. But I feel like having that transition would have been great. At the end of this movie, sort of teasing what would come next would be very interesting. But ultimately, I feel like this movie was designed to be more of a celebration of Michael Jackson, less of an analysis of Michael Jackson. And I feel like more people wanted it to be an analysis than a celebration. Some people, I would say, not all people, but some people wanted it to be more of an analysis than a celebration. And I feel like if your goal is to see a movie that celebrates Michael Jackson, this is the movie. This is the movie that celebrates his music. And you're going to be there more as a spectator than someone who is actively wanting to know more and more about how he thinks. So yeah, if you're here to just watch the movie and have fun with it and just listen to Michael Jackson's music, then yeah, this is the movie for you. But if you want to see a more in-depth look into Michael Jackson, this isn't it. But all in all, I think this movie is great, even though it has those shortcomings that I said in the beginning. But I just, it's so hard to sit here and criticize Michael Jackson as a whole. But I feel like I'm not criticizing Michael. I'm criticizing the film and the portrayal of Michael Jackson in this case, which I have very few problems here with the portrayal of Michael Jackson or with the casting or anything. It's just those three main things in the beginning, because this is just a movie that's just here for you to have fun with Michael Jackson's music and just sit there and watch as Jaafar Jackson just absolutely blows your mind, in the process of who Michael was and how he was growing up and ultimately becoming the star that he is, the king of pop. So yeah, that's how I think. That's personally my opinion as to what this film is. And I want to hear from you. What do you guys think? Do you think Michael, the movie, was great? Do you think it was okay? Do you wanted to see more in-depth moments in this movie? Is there aspects of this movie that you wanted changed or added? Or do you think that this movie should have been longer than it is so that we could have more time with Michael? I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel. And thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.
Scrolling through YouTube, same old routine, then bam, movie savant, what a scene. Trivia bombshells dropping knowledge like rain. Forget the dishes, gotta watch it again. Movie buffs unite, savants to place. Subscribe and hit the bell, don't leave a trace. Next level knowledge keeps you in the loop. Savants got the scoop, ain't nothing to recoup.